2025 73 Texas. This is in Galveston on April 6, 2025. This is going to be the 70.3 race course overview. Before we kick into it, make sure that you do like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Also, if you do or are interested in individual course breakdowns for you, course strategies for you and your profile, or just individual coaching, please feel free to reach out. My contact info is down below in the description. With that, let's dive into it. So this is our first landing page. Just wanted to go over the new landing pages this year because they are very cool, very useful. First thing they list is the typical things. They also list air temperature. They also list uh, the low air temperature. They list the water temperature, which is awesome, which is very useful on courses like this. Um, Also, this year, competition rules have been updated. Make sure you do head over there. The way you get to this page is you go to course rules. This window or this page will pop up. Please read through some of these new rules this year. There are some new changes, some new modifications to rules. Also, the list, this kind of cracks me up, this wording, current list of known prohibited running shoes. So the prohibited list of running shoes is right here. Make sure you are familiar with that and you don't show up on race day in the wrong shoes. Also, the event schedule is posted, but the athlete guide is not officially posted yet. We're about 6 weeks out from the race, so wanted to get this out to you. And this is what we got this year, schedule-wise. Before this race. So Friday is our first ability to do athlete check-in. That is from 2 to 7, and that's at the hotel lot over there. Athlete briefings, there are two, one at 3 and one at 5 p.m. Also, the village is open all day. Saturday, April 5th, moving day, athlete check-in is available from 9 to 4 p.m. Mandatory bike and timing chip pickup does happen 10 to 5 p.m. That happens at the transition, the west lot, not the hotel lot. There are a couple athlete briefings in here. The first is at 11. The second is at 1. That is the Spanish one. And then the last one is at 2 p.m. And again, that is that is in the Gardens Hotel lot over there. Sunday, April 6th, race day. Transition area opens at 5, closes at 7. Very critical to note that 7 o'clock closing time because the race does start at 7. You do have a little bit of a walk to get to the race swim start, so I would encourage you to get there a little bit earlier just to have the ability to get out of the transition area and head over to the swim start. Um, Again, the race is going to start promptly at 7 a.m. There's going to be a little bit of a queue to get into the water here, and we'll dive into that very quickly here. But you want to get out of transition a little bit earlier. It'll just be less stressful overall. It'll be a lot better. There's also going to be bike and gear checkout. That's 2 to 6, as is customary. Also, as is customary, 4 p.m. is the awards ceremonies, slot allocation roll down, all of that good stuff. How many slots and where they are going to be allocated is going to be posted on race morning after the swim starts. That usually is posted in the app too. The app is very useful. Highly recommend checking it out on race day. So this is our, again, this is the new course or the new way that they're laying things out this year on their webpage. Really like it. You can kind of zoom in and out depending on what you want to do. This is our swim course, guys. This is get our stuff ready here. This is our swim start. This is the transition area right here. So you do have a little bit of a walk to get over to the swim start, which is right there. Again, you do line up on a dock. You jump off the dock just like it showed in the main page here. So if we let this kind of scroll by, that's exactly what the swim start is. If you saw that very quickly there, and with that, right, that's really going to allow you to swim your race pretty much right from the get-go. You're not going to be bottled up together. There's going to be people around you, and it's just going to be a steady stream of athletes in there. But if you kind of seat yourselves appropriately and you are around people that are kind of your ability, you'll be able to get in and kind of swim at your pace pretty easily. And you're not going to have to battle for pace or battle for space, excuse me, like in some other races here where the kind of athletes go more at the same time. So with that, a couple things happen. Because you're able to swim your race, and this is kind of a PR course, it's kind of labeled as that, if conditions are right, big asterisk. Because this is a PR course, this area first is very essential to your success. You want to find your race kind of groove here in this first little section right up till that first red arrow marker right there. At this point in my mind, you should be swimming your race pace. You should have enough room to swim whether you're in the front, middle, or back of the pack, just because the way the queue line is working on the docks here. And after you hit this point here, it should be smooth sailing people-wise, right? Some elements that you do have to watch out for are the water. So this is, let me just circle it for you. This is going to be where we are swimming right there. Keep that in mind as I zoom out here. And you can see here that the Gulf is right out here. And as we zoom in, we do have a little bit of a barrier in between there, but it's still ocean. It's still an ocean swim out here in this in our swim area. So it can be affected a little bit by the tides, whether it's going in, whether it's going out. So it is an active body of water, and it is going to be affected by the weather a lot. So just keep that in mind when you are coming to race. Make sure you're watching the water during your check-ins. Make sure you're watching or paying attention at least to some of the weather patterns that are coming up, because it will play a slight effect on the race course, even though you are shielded from the main elements. There will be some aspects of that kind of poking their ugly head in. But after you make these two left-hand turns here, first one, second one, this stretch is the most critical piece to your swim. The longest section, the straightaway section, you should be able to get a handle on things very quickly if you are paying attention right here. If you are getting pushed or pulled in a direction, make sure you are taking note of that right here, because that's going to have major implications for the rest of this section here. Based off of what the tide is doing or what the weather is doing, wind, whatever, you'll be able to figure that out very quickly if you're paying attention, and you can kind of counteract that for the rest of the time here. This set stretch of section here, that's going to be your go section. This is going to be the area where you are going to establish a great swim or a horrible swim is right here. This first little section that we talked about before is going to set that up. If you really, really go out fast and you overdo it, then the first part of this section you're going to have to recover, and then you're going to have to go into your race pace here. If you nail it perfectly, in my mind, you start out, let's call it a 6 out of 10, and then this is a 7 out of 10 right here, or what is comfortable to you. This section right here, this last turn, this is kind of a recovery. There's still work to do, but this shouldn't be a sprint side right here unless you're in kind of the front runners. This section here is it should be designed for you to maintain your speed and kind of recover a little bit and get ready for the bike, because you're going to have a lot of work to do for the bike. After you get out, you do have a little bit of a jog to get to the transition. It's not terrible though at all. And once you're in transition, you exit this way out on the bike course for you. And that's the swim. Not a whole lot to talk about. It's because there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's pretty straightforward. There are some little things that you need to pay attention of, but we already talked about those. And this is our bike course here. This is an out and back bike course. One loop, not a 2 or 3 loop course. A little unique here in our 70.3 world. So out and back section here, as you can see from the new things that they're doing here, this is our Strava profile. It is pretty flat out here. They have marked about 284 feet of elevation gain. And that's pretty much what you're going to get here. The course that you're going to see is a little bit different than what I have laid out here. I don't have the little blip right at the top there, but for all intensive purposes, it's pretty much the same course here. And with that, keep in mind the Gulf is right out here, right? So the weather is going to play a huge factor in your PR chances. If it's a blustery 20, 30 miles an hour, that's going to play major repercussions in your bike time, and there's not really a whole lot you can do about that. You can manage that, which we'll address in a second here, but realize that you do have to play the hands that you're dealt, play the card you're dealt. So this is our bike course. It's an out and back section. It's pretty straightforward, literally. A lot of straight lines out here. You'll be able to see what's coming in front of you, what is coming in back of you. So make sure that just because it is a straightaway, you're not just losing yourself and you're just simply focused on what's in front of you. Make sure you check over your shoulder every once in a while and identify if there's anyone coming up, if there's a pack coming up, if there's 2 people passing at the same time, that kind of stuff. Make sure you're doing that at your aid stations. Just make them a little safer for you. They are the most dangerous parts on the course just because of the people factor, and that's always going to be the case. Because of this, everyone is going to be prioritizing arrow. Arrow is going to be king or queen on this course, and that is rightfully so. And let's dive into the major things that you will experience. This is our power plan, right? This course, this might be a little aggressive for some people. But this is an athlete here who is going to be participating. You can see here from, let's just take away speed and elevation here. It's pretty straightforward here. There is a couple of nuances to this. You'll see that the power does decrease a little bit and then rebound on the way back in. That is strictly due to the wind, right? So you are going to have to fight the wind typically, right? It might get a little assisted as you get closer to the transition, but that's pretty much what you're going to get. And you can see that kind of in the speed here as well. Elevation, this is the exact same thing that we saw on their other landing page over there. So let's go to time analysis here. But actually, before we do that, sorry, jumping ahead. As I go over the course, just watch the biker, the cyclist down in here, and that's the wind. So as you see that we are progressing through our race, we are experiencing a crosswind coming from our left shoulder right off of the Gulf. And this is a typical race scenario. As we progress here, that just maintains. You might get some instances of tail, might get some instances of it switching to a head. What that means is it's going to be swirling with primarily coming off of your left shoulder out there. As we get closer to the turnaround, it starts to do some funky things. Again, that swirling aspect of it. And as we turn around, the wind shifts to coming off of your right side. That is the dirty side of the bike, so that means that your times might not be as fast if it is coming from the headwind side of the bike as well, so that cross headwind. And just be aware that no matter what bike you have, if that crosswind is coming, that's most of the time it's not going to be beneficial coming from the right-hand side. As we keep coming back to transition, it does change from a cross tail, and it just kind of rotates from there, right? As we keep going, it does slowly start to turn into a headwind, and then it shifts again as well. And again, this can totally change on race day, so make sure. The reason I'm bringing this up now is make sure you are watching what's happening in front of you. This is kind of like a Kona strategy. You'll be able to see in front of you at Kona. You can see what the wind is doing. If there's gusts happening in one of the valleys or peaks out there, you can see that the athletes are bracing for it. And then when you get down there, you experience the same thing and you're ready for it. So don't turn off your brain necessarily on this course. Make sure you're aware of what's happening in front of you and use that to your advantage. If you see that there's a big gust or there's an area where the athletes, the riders are getting pushed off into one direction, make sure you're anticipating that. Maybe slide out 2 or 3 inches more so you can anticipate that wind pushing you off to the side if you're a smaller rider. Time analysis, everyone's favorite feature on this course. I'm going to go straight to power here. This athlete's going to hold about 208 watts, so if we ramp that up about 1%, you're going to be saving 37 seconds over this course. And I bring that up because we'll go over here and do our drag. Remember that 37 seconds. If you save a little bit of drag on this course here, you're saving automatically 30 seconds right there. So do you want to increase that FTP? Do you want to increase the drag? That is up to you right now. Rolling resistance, if we take our rolling resistance and we drop it down just a little bit, improve some of those tire choices, PSI choices, we're saving 7 seconds automatically. And again, we go to our weight. Athletes really concerned about weight. This is a 150-pound athlete dropping down 1% of their weight. They're only saving 6 seconds on this course. And so you can kind of counteract that in a couple of different ways. So remember that power that we talked about here, upping it 1%, saving 37 seconds here. If we take our drag and we drop it down, sorry about that, misclick. If we drop it down 1, we take our rolling resistance, we drop it down 1 again. We're already at that 37 seconds already here. So you can kind of achieve the similar results there. Let's say that you're not having the best off season so far, race lead up, and you actually gain a little bit of weight. That's not going to have super ramifications on this course unless you're gaining 6 or 7 pounds, right? 1 or 2 extra pounds on this course should not be a major deterrent of success on the bike. On the run, potentially, but that's what it is. So we're going back to our weather tab here, and you can see that the wind is this blue mark right here, but what I want to bring up is the humidity bar, which is this one right up here. I know this course is labeled a PR course, but if the weather does get a little hotter, then the humidity is going to play a bigger role on this course. The humidity is usually pretty high on this course, and this is one of our race killers out here. Athletes just really ignore their fueling, hydration, nutritional strategies. They don't listen to the humidity at all, and what a lot of times will happen on this course, you'll have athletes coming from colder climates. They'll get out here and it feels amazing because they've been trapped in 30 degrees or less for months and months and months. They ignore the humidity, and this race, they come unglued at mile 6, mile 7, mile 8 on the run, and it's strictly down to the humidity. Yeah, they might get a little excited out there, but for most people, they've done a 70.3 before. This is the kind of group that I'm referring to right here. And the humidity just really just derailed their day, and they didn't pay attention to it. Extra sweat, they needed to fuel a little bit different, all that good stuff, and they didn't listen. They didn't respect the conditions out here. So the conditions might be a little more mild than, say, mid-July, mid-August in North America here, but they can still derail your race nonetheless. So just make sure you are paying attention to all of that on race day. Zones here, if we go to our zones, it's again pretty straightforward. This athlete's going to be in zone 3 of our 6-zone model here. And, and you're just kind of sitting there. You're just sitting there. Last major thing for you to kind of be aware of on this course here is the arrow position. I referenced it very, very briefly a little bit ago, but make sure, arrow is going to be the main objective here. Make sure you are aware of what's happening around you. Also, don't be afraid to get out of that arrow position every once in a while. Every year, another common thing here is you just have athletes sit in the arrow position literally for the entire time. Never get out of it, never stretch, never do anything. And that pays huge consequences on the run for some athletes if they can't hold that position, if they don't have that flexibility. Don't be afraid to get out, stomp on the pedals for a little bit. You have to create a little bit of that course variance out here if it's a mild day. If it's not very windy, you have to create some of that variance. You have to create some of those power surges out here. Don't be afraid to get out of the saddle for a couple of revolutions. Don't be afraid to change it up every 7, 10, 15 minutes out here. That's going to actually help your bike, help your overall race, believe it or not, than just getting locked into a position. Even the pros are going to be doing that. They're not going to be locked super, super tight arrow position the entire time. They get out, they do a little light stretch in. Maybe you do it when you fuel. Maybe you do it when you're getting around someone. It's all really up to you and your who you are and how you race. Going back to our course overviews here, scrolling back up to our run. The run is a little bit busy. The run takes us through a 3-loop course, and there's a lot of out and backs, a lot of twists and turns, pretty much the opposite of what you got on the bike and the swim. So there's a lot of twists and turns. There's not a lot of space that this 13 miles covers, right? You can see our transition is located right here, right? Or we swam. That's our dock right here. That's our finish. So we have a very small area that you're doing a lot of miles in. 3 loops, so the faster athletes are going to experience 1, maybe 2 loops of kind of a free course out here. Mid-pack athletes, you're going to be around people pretty much the entire time. Back of the packer athletes, the course is going to open up for you on your last lap, which will be nice. So those mid-pack athletes, you're going to kind of pay the price a little bit of this 3-loop course here, and it's going to get very, very busy, and it can get a little chaotic. Front of the pack athletes, you'll be able to see who's kind of around you and get a good gauge of what's going on. You'll also have a better sense of who's around you if you do need to make a pass or if you need to keep someone away from you. You'll have a better opportunity to kind of track that. But the mid-pack athletes, you just kind of have to put your head down and kind of get through the course and do your best racing, just kind of ignore everyone. Our course is going to start off at this green dot here. As we progress through here, let's get rid of our arrow here so you can see here. As we progress, we do have one out and back already in the first 0.25 miles here. So you're already doubling back on yourself, coming back towards that transition area. We loop around, a second out and back happens, and then it gets a little crazy out here. We do a third out and back, and we do a quick loop, and the course is actually going to get very close to each other here. And we go back down around, and then we twist, do a little dog leg up there, and run past where we went to our swim. And that is our loop right there. As we go here again, this is going to happen for our second and third time. When you get to the third time, right, once you pass that transition area, you're just going to continue going straight, and that's going to be where your finish is located right there. So you're only on this stretch of road very briefly, and that's going to be at the very, very end. So if you If you've only done one lap or you're just getting out onto the course, make sure you are not going to this section here until you've completed 3 loops. Very, very important, very critical. They'll have signs, can't miss it. They won't be letting athletes just run through there unless they've run 3 loops. They're also going to have timing chips, timing mats in a load of places. I would bet that they're going to have timing mat here, one out here, probably one up here, and then one up here somewhere. So it's going to be pretty much impossible to do any cheating. Hopefully. This is our elevation profile here, and again, the elevation isn't the main player out here. The real player is the conditions. If it's perfect and in the 70s, and the wind is throwing about 10, 15 mile an hour, just steady, consistent wind out there, that's going to be alarm bell should be going off in your head here when you're out in the run. As you start out the run, you need to be aware of what happened on the bike for you. Everyone's race is going to be a little different. Some people might have overdone it. Some people might have undercooked it a little bit, maybe left a little too much on the table, and you can kind of have a little more free reign on the run. But the bottom line is, even though there's going to be a ton of people around you pretty much at every turn out here, you need to run your race out here. Make sure you are tracking the weather, because those major factors that are going to come rear their ugly head, they're probably going to get you right at the start of that second loop or about halfway through that second loop, and then you'll start to get some issues that pop up. Make sure you are aware of how much you're sweating. If you look down and your kit starts changing, starts to get salty, you need to make some differences. You need to change up your nutritional strategies. If you're starting to cramp, same thing. If you're hungry, tired, same thing. You need to do some changes. You need to change it up, because what you're doing is setting yourself up for failure. Unless you're in the last mile of your race, you can kind of put those things to the side and just kind of get through it. But if you're experiencing some of these changes in the first couple of steps, or when you get out to this turnaround point out here for the very first time, if you're already experiencing some difficulties or some worrying signs, make the changes now. As soon as you can, start making some changes and start correcting what has gone wrong. It's not going to correct itself in that moment, right? But if you start early, then you're going to have a greater chance for your body to kind of adjust, turn it around, and then allow you to keep going. Your race might not be what you want out here, and what usually happens is, because this is a PR course, everyone wants that PR, and when most athletes don't, or when they get off of that PR track, they don't throw in the towel, but their motivation really, really drops out here. And a lot of races aren't thrown away, but they're not taken full advantage of out here. So if you aren't able to get that time that you want, I would just encourage you to stay mentally strong and just keep going at your pace or at what you can do. A lot of times would be dropped substantially on this course if you can just stay mentally strong, mentally sharp out here. Don't throw in that towel just because things aren't going wrong. If it does go down that path, just keep going the course, keep correcting, and it will come back. It might not be the pace that you want, but you will definitely be able to continue there. You'll be able to pass a lot of athletes because just there's not a whole lot of variance terrain-wise out here, and it's all people-driven, it's all crowd-driven out here. So make sure you are mentally strong so you can kind of take that away from some of your competitors. And if that's the case, you will be passing people on the second half of that second loop, definitely on that third loop. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. The athletes that are falling off mentally are going to be starting to get passed on that second and third loop big time. When things aren't going right, if they start to give up, then, they're going to be walking and a lot of people are going to be passing them. So make sure you are actively tracking everything. Nutrition, hydration, again, the athlete guide hasn't been officially released, but I would render a guess here that the Mortal hydration is going to be the standard out here, along with the Morton hydration as well. Make sure you are practicing with that stuff. If you haven't already, I would highly encourage you to order some of that stuff so you can practice with it and see how it reacts with your gut. Even if you plan on bringing your own nutrition, you never know what happens on race day. You might drop a bottle, something will go bad or whatever, right? You need to use what's on course. Always good to at least experiment and know what your body does with some of these products here, even if you're just going to be fueling with them kind of intermittently. And that's our 2025 kind of course overview of the 73 Texas run here coming up in a couple of weeks. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. If you want to connect and do an individual course synopsis for you, little course strategy for you as an individual, I will also happily do that for you. Good luck to everyone racing on our 2025 edition here this year, and good luck to everyone.